Welcome to MatheNatic. We are busy revising stats for grade 12, paper 2. And in this video, we'll focus on the standard deviation of ungrouped data. So let's study the simple data set. We have 5, 5, 7, 6, 9, and 10. So that is our data set. So in order to discuss the standard deviation, we first need to find the mean of the data. And the mean is simply the average, and in the previous video, I showed you how to find the average. It is simply the sum of the data divided by the number of data points or values that we have. So that is 42 divided by 6, so the average here is 7. Now for the standard deviation, we would need to use a calculator. So here is a little picture of the calculator that I use in my classroom, and the steps that you need to follow for the standard deviation based on a Casio calculator is as follows. First thing that you need to do is you press Shift and then 9. That will prompt your calculator to clear the data. So what we want to do is clear the calculator from all previous information or data that we have entered into it. Then we'll select Mode, and then a few options will pop up. And on this version of the calculator, you'll press option 3 that says Stat. In other calculators, it might be option 2 or so forth. But as you press Mode, you put your calculator in Stats mode. Then another list will pop up, and you're looking for the option that says 1 minus var. And you select that option. And for this calculator, it's option 1. And then a data set will open up. And you can enter the data values on that data set. So I'll put in 5 and press down, then 5 again, 7, 6, 9, and 10. So I'll enter the data points underneath one another. And once I'm done, I'll press AC. Now don't be nervous. Your calculator screen would clear, but you have entered the data points into the calculator's memory. Now you'll press Shift again, and then option 1 here that says Stat. So can you see above the number 1? It says Stat, so Shift 1 or Stat will then open up a few options for you again, and you're looking for the option under variance or var. You press var, and a few options will open up again. And then you're looking for sigma x. So this is the lowercase sigma. And this symbol here on the calculator represents the value of the standard deviation. So that standard deviation for this data set is 1.91. But this is simply a value. How you use the standard deviation is actually by comparing that 1.91 to the mean of the data. So if the question says, find data points within one standard deviation, then you'll take the mean and subtract the standard deviation, and take the mean and add a standard deviation. So you subtract from the mean and add to the mean to create an interval. And this interval would be one standard deviation. Any data value or data point outside of that interval is not within one standard deviation. And sometimes your question says, find the data sets within 2 standard deviations. So again, standard deviation is compared to the mean. And instead of subtracting or adding this 1.91 for 2 standard deviations, you'll multiply that 1.91 by 2 in both cases. So both for the lower limit and for the upper limit. So for the lower limit, we'd say mean minus 2 times the standard deviations, and you'll have your lower value of the interval. And for the upper limit, you would say mean plus 2 times the standard deviation, and that will be your upper limit. So any data point outside of this range would be outside of 2 standard deviations. And that is how we find standard deviation on our calculator and how we use it in terms of interpretation. Thank you for watching. Remember to show your support by hitting the like button and subscribing to MatheNatic.